The area lying along the northeastern border between Umbria and the Marche is a territory steeped in history, culture, folklore, art and crafts, as well as being remarkable for the beauty of its landscape and unique natural environment. It boasts a large number of abbeys, hermitages, parish churches, castles, towers and hamlets, as well as towns such as Gubbio, Gualdo Tadino, Nocera Umbra, Fossato di Vico, Costa Chiaro, and Pietralunga. All home to a broad spectrum of museums whose highly valued collections are housed in churches and historic residences of rare beauty. These places tell the history of the territory through archaeological collections, displaying finds which date from as far back as prehistoric times, such as the Iguvine tables, preserved in Gubbio's Civic Museum, located in the Palazzo dei Consoli. These constitute a unicum, providing an insight into the mysterious world of the ancient Umbrians, whose existence is also documented in the archaeological exhibits in Casa Cajani in Gualdo Tadino, and by the epigraph dating from the 2nd century BCE, before the Christian era, discovered in Fossato di Vico, which makes reference to the goddess Cupra. The most significant archaeological corpus consists of Roman remains, which are present throughout a large part of the territory, most notably the Roman theater in Gubbio, but also the Roman bridges in Fossato di Vico and Sigillo along the ancient Via Flaminia. There are objects from Roman times in all the collections, especially in the Antiquarium, or Ancient History Museum in Fossato di Vico, and also in the Civic Museum in Gubbio, and the Archeological Museum in Nocera, Umbra, which also contains exhibits looking as far forward as the early Middle Ages, and with its display featuring part of the so-called Lombard treasure. The numerous churches, chapels, and art galleries, whether small or large, typically containing paintings on panel, on canvas, and frescoes, together with the painting collections in the civic and diocesan museums, provide a way of exploring the history of art, in the course of which Gubbio played a nodal role among the various artistic centers in the Apennines, being centrally placed with respect to Tuscany, Romagna, and Assisi. The town was one of the most important places in the field of figurative art, starting from the middle of the 13th century and passing through the age of Giotto, with Palmerino, Di Guido, and Melo, whose work shows the influence of Lorenzetti, and culminating in the early period of international Gothic, with the remarkable figure of Ottaviano Nelli, who also worked in smaller centers such as Pietralunga and Fossato di Vico. Important examples of figurative art from Umbria and the Marche can be found in the Rocca Flea Museum in Gualdo Tadino, where, alongside the body of works by the highly original Renaissance artist Matteo da Gualdo, pride of place belongs to a magnificent altarpiece by Niccolò di Liberatore, L'Alunno. The same artist also painted the altarpiece, generally considered to be the most exquisite work in the Nocera Umbra art gallery that is housed in the Church of St. Francis. Finally, the Diocesan Museum collection in Gubbio, comprising ecclesiastical vestments and liturgical objects, records the history of the diocese, which was already functioning in the first centuries of the Christian era. The traditional craft of ceramics is also well represented, beginning from the Archaic era up to the 19th and 20th centuries, reaching its high point with the production of lusterware by the incomparable Renaissance master craftsman Mastro Giorgio Andreoli. Examples of his works are on show in the Civic Museum in the Palazzo dei Consoli, and also, more widely, in the museums dedicated to this art in Gualdo Tadino, in particular the Casa Cajani Ceramics Museum and the Rubboli Workshop Museum, which documents the revival of the technique of gold and ruby luster, and also features some muffle kilns, which were used to produce the metallic glazes. Of no less importance is the natural heritage of the region. The Monte Cucco Nature Reserve is one of the most spectacular areas of the Apennines. also known as the belly of the Apennines, because of its network of underground caverns which stretch out for more than 30 kilometers. The interior of the territory is diverse, consisting of plateau, woodland, torrents, the mountainous and hilly landscape which forms the northeastern border of the region, as well as springs of mineral water, rivers, 21 sites of interest to the European community, included in the European Union's New Millennium Nature Network project, Natura 2000, and the Botaccione Ravine, with its slender stratum of iridium, an extraterrestrial mineral providing a key to the mystery of the extinction of the dinosaurs. There are several facilities dedicated to highlighting the salient features of the region's natural environment. Foremost among these are the Museum Laboratory in the Monte Cucco Nature Reserve at Costacciaro, offering tours for deepening one's knowledge of the geological phenomenon of the Apennines in Umbria and the Marche, and the Ornithological Museum at Pietrolunga within the Candileto Wildlife Sanctuary, which has an interesting collection of regional fauna with realistic reconstructions of the marshland and mountain environments. The identity of the territory is also revealed through the material evidence of its local culture and social history, which have given rise to highly distinctive and deeply rooted ways of life. In Costacciaro, the ancient oil mill, dating from the 17th century, bears witness to the cultivation of olives in this area, an activity already mentioned by Pliny, which was subsequently significantly expanded by the Montefeltro Dukes of Urbino from the 15th century on. The experience of emigration has profoundly marked the regional identity and characterized its social history, which is admirably narrated in the Pietro Conti Museum of Emigration in Gualdo, Tadino. By means of documents, objects, videos, and personal accounts, the museum presents the historical, cultural, and human heritage linked to the great migratory exodus that Italy experienced from the end of the 1800s, involving more than 27 million people. Almost inevitably, the inhabitants of the interior, because of their remoteness, have preserved the traditional ways of life, like precious jewels in a casket, and show a very deep attachment both to their roots, often stretching back to ancestral times and to a set of strongly held values. These find expression in various celebrations throughout the year. The Cherry Festival in Gubbio, whose centuries-old history has its origin in pagan fertility rites, but which, from 1161 to the present day, has found renewed energy and meaning as an act of devotion to Bishop Ubaldo. The historical and folkloristic reenactment of the Giochi delle Porte in Gualdo Tadino, which transports the town back in time for 2 days. The traditional Maggio festival in San Pellegrino, which is also linked to atavistic rites of spring. The contest of the Palio dei Quartieri in Nocera, Umbra, between the Borgo San Martino and the Porta Santa Croce districts. The Festa degli Statuti in Fossato di Vico, which brings to life the medieval history of the old castle, and the Palio della Mannaia in Pietrolunga, commemorating an event which took place on the 11th of September, 1334. This identity, with its own specific lifestyles and values, is the product of a half-hidden territory where history, nature, culture, and humanity are the priceless gems of a treasure trove waiting to be discovered.